how I was able to move through the death of my mother, my sister, and my nephew. And hopefully, this can help somebody because I know that there is someone who is dealing with grief, who is dealing with major loss, and just trying to figure out how do I keep going? How do I not just give it all up? What, how do I just continue to move forward? And what brought this up was Jennifer Hudson. She said something that was so profound the other day, and it totally summed up what it was that I had to tell myself. So, for those who don't know, I lost my mom in July of 2018, July 31st of 2018. And then I lost my nephew on August 5th of 2021. And then I lost my sister on February the 1st of 2022, I'm sorry. And so this was right at the onset of my business when I lost my mom, who was the matriarch of the family. And we literally had no warning. Like, she was walking, talking, doing all the things regular, very vibrant, no indication that in 10 days she would be dead. When we went to the doctor, they literally said she has 10 days to live. She was suffering from kidney failure from some previous procedures, but she did not have any kidney issues beforehand. And then my nephew was brutally murdered. He was shot in the chest a few times, and he was 20 years old. He was 20 years old. The most loving kid you ever want to meet, and one of my own personal favorites. You all know I have 13 nieces and nephews. And so, why do I come here to share this story with you? And even with my sister, we just talk to my sister. We talk all the time. So we don't have the sisters who we don't talk. We talk all the time. Like today, I've talked to one sister who has already talked to the other sister, and we communicate in chat, we communicate in text, we call each other on the phone, we hang out, we go out together. Everything that we do is family oriented. So to be on the phone with a sister and to be talking about salmon croquette and Pepsi, that's what she was doing when she died. And then to get the next call, like 4 hours later, I distinctly remember I was at Schnucks getting ready to go into the grocery store. And I got a call from her apartment complex, and they wanted to know if I was Shonda's next of kin. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but why would you be calling me? And the lady was like, there's been an emergency and we need to have you come down. So I was like, okay. And then I immediately went to call my other sister and her daughter, because my sister had a daughter, or has a daughter, who is grown. All of her kids are grown. So she has a 30-something-year-old daughter. So I'm like, why are they calling me and not the daughter? And so I called her daughter and I was like, hey, I just got a call from the apartment complex, and my sister had an aneurysm 8 years before that. And so she was fully functional, but she still had some effects from the aneurysm, but totally independent, totally, capable, all the things. And so that's when my niece told me that they just called her and told her that Shonda didn't make it. And I was like, didn't make it from what? What are we talking about here? And so now those are just three of the major deaths that have happened. That's not to include my aunt who died. And we've had several other close family members. My aunt is my mom's sister. But let me tell you the point of why I'm telling you this. So Jennifer Hudson summed it up really well for me. And I want to share this with you because it might bless somebody here. Jennifer Hudson said, the trauma of my mother's death can't be the story of my life. When she said that, drop the mic, drop the mic. Because that's what I had to tell myself. When I found myself in the depression, when I found myself struggling to move forward, look at my dog, go lay down, Roxy. When I found myself not wanting to work, when I found myself only wanting to talk about, go lay down, Roxy, go lay down, only wanting to talk about my mom and my sister and my nephew, which is good to talk, don't get me wrong. But that's all I wanted to do. Every story, everything, why I didn't do something, it was because I just lost my mom. Why I didn't show up to an event, I just lost my mom. Why I didn't do this, why anything that happened, Dr. LaShawn said, hey, Roxy, I know Roxy's over here like, girl, come on and take me outside. So everything that happened, and then when my nephew got killed, like when my nephew got killed, oh, I was on my way to jail. Like I couldn't even move forward. I couldn't even bring myself like, and I was so sad for my sister because that was my sister's only son. And so you try to figure out how to move forward, how to exist. So me and my mom, our lives were totally entangled. Like our checking accounts, our bills, our money, our time, everything was totally entangled. Like even now, I can't even go Black Friday shopping because that's the thing me and my mom used to do. But when Jennifer Hudson said, and you know, Jennifer Hudson had a tragic tragedy happen in her life, and it was her mom, her brother, and her nephew were killed by her sister's boyfriend. Very tragic. And so when she said, I'm telling you, it summed it up so well for me because when, you know, like when I was trying to help other people in the family, yeah, it's Roxy. Her real name is Roxanne, Dr. D. Nicole. Yep, it's Roxy. She is. She was coming to comfort me. She said, you good now. Now let me come take me for a walk. Yes, that is my dog. And then the family dog is Mr. Russell. But Roxanne, she will put her life on the line for me. But when Jennifer Hudson said the trauma of my mother's death can't be the story of my life, I'm telling you, when I say that hit me, I was like, that's exactly what I've been trying to communicate. You know, people tried to give me the role that my mother had. They tried to make me the matriarch of the family. They tried to run all decisions and all of the things through me. They tried to move all of the holidays to my house because all of it used to be at my mom's house. And it was extremely difficult, but it was also just difficult for me to function day to day, knowing that my phone would never ring again, knowing that I would never hear that voice again, knowing that the person who normally gives me wise counsel is gone and I can't talk to her in the physical. And so there are people who have allowed, unfortunately, and I know that grief has its own process. Each person has their own process and that it impacts each person differently. But what I want to share is, you know, just a message of don't let that be your story. That's all I'm trying to communicate. I'm not trying to say don't grieve. I'm not trying to say don't go through your process. I'm just simply saying don't let that become the story of your life. Don't let that be the thing that stops you from living the life of your dreams. Don't let that be the reason that you don't go after your dreams. Don't let that be the reason that you stop living, stop doing, stop believing. And when I say, I know people right now who they were totally, you know, devastated by a loss and they stopped everything that they were doing. They stopped everything and will tell you when my mama died, my reason for living died. No, that's not what your mom would have wanted. That's not what your spouse would have wanted. That's not what my nephew would have wanted. And so I do things in memory of instead of not doing it. And so even when I think about the things that I want to do and how I want to honor them, that's what I think about. And so when she said the trauma of my mother's death, I think about the trauma of my nephew's death and the way it impacted our family. The way his birthday was just on February 28th. And it was hard. Like it was hard to be there celebrating and he wasn't there. But I cannot let that be the story of my life. And that's what I was communicating to his siblings. I was letting them know we cannot let Michael's death be the story of our life. We can't let that be the reason why we became mean and bitter and evil. We can't let that be the reason why we no longer, move forward and went after things and lived our own life, because that cannot be the story of our life. Let's find a different way to funnel this grief and to figure out how to move forward. And so, of course, we have to have the acceptance and that emotional expression. So let's, one of the things we talked about as a family is how are we going to express this deep sadness and this deep missing this person who is deeply missed. How do we do that? How do we not just talk about it, but how do we do something to commemorate the time and keep his memory going, keep my mom's memory going, and keep my sister's memory going? And so, sometimes, many times, you got to have people around you. You do, because everybody's there for the funeral, everybody's there for that small amount of time, and then they go home. But it's important to have that support of friends and family, or even a support group. But the point is, you need to find meaning after the loss. And I think that when I was at the live event and there was this lady and she was sharing her story, and she said she had lost all of these people in a 3-year time period. And because of that, she had not made any progress. And I was saddened for her. I was deeply saddened for her, because what I do know is that's not what God wanted for her. 3 years, she hasn't made any progress. She hasn't moved towards any of her dreams, because she is, she was just trying to figure it all out. And sometimes we don't need to figure it out. We have to accept that this is what it is. Dr. D. Nicole says you represent structure to your family. The Lord called you also into that capacity. You're indeed a testimony and a blessing to many. Thank you for always inspiring others, and keep you and your entire family lifted up. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And so, but we also can't take on a role that we don't, that like, I have no desire to be the matriarch of the family, nor am I the best one to do it. So I am the youngest sibling. We have an older sibling, and she is totally capable of doing it, and she's willing to do it. But sometimes people want to appoint the people who they feel appropriate, and I'm more than willing to help her to step into her role. And she's owned the fact that she needs to step into her role, but that means that I need to step out of the role. And a lot of times we let people push roles off on us. But see, I can't do all of those things, because I'm the only one still raising a family. Everybody else's kids are grown. Everybody else has been in the, doing their thing. I still got a 17-year-old at home now, a 17 and an 18-year-old who still live at home. Their kids are 25, 35. I was the youngest. And so I still have a family to raise. I still have a spouse. I'm the only one with a spouse. And so I love being the example, but I also know that I shouldn't take on roles and responsibilities that I'm not totally prepared for. And while I offer words that will help us to move through situations, I do think that I am oftentimes the voice of reason. But I also think that, we allow these losses to take us out. And I really don't want us to do that. And I know that the person who moved on, who meant so much to you and who you meant so much to, that's not what they wanted either. And I know that there's somebody who's likely struggling with this right now. And I'm kind of, when they say that time heals, it really does. Could I have had this conversation with you 5 years ago? Absolutely not. Could I have had this conversation with you 3 years ago? Absolutely not, baby, because I was trying to find the people who killed my nephew. Okay. So I had to move through my phases of grief. And that's what we all need to understand. If we understand that there are phases to grief, there are 7 phases that you need to move through. And if you know what those phases are, it's easier to move through them because you will recognize, oh, I am making progress. Oh, I am dealing with this. Because sometimes you even wonder, are you dealing with it? I know that when I lost someone when I was in the school system, I just went to work to try to mask the pain. But it's a different story when it's someone who is directly connected to you and you can't mask the pain. Like on my way, every morning, my mom called me every single morning. My phone has not rang since July 21st. My phone has not rang at 6 a.m. in the morning since July 21st at all. At all. So, so it deeply impacted me and it took me out for a little bit. It took me out. I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do because I was working through my pain. I was working through my grief. And then I realized I'm letting my life go. Why are you letting your life go? This is not what your mom would have wanted. And so I had to own the fact that I'm not doing the things. And this is not just me in grief. This is me allowing myself to go into something deeper than what it is. And so I really had to work to find meaning. And so if you can find meaning after loss, that is a great way to move through things. Just explore ways to find or create meaning and ways to honor the memory of your loved one through acts of service or pursuing passions that you all once shared. Like for my nephew, my sister bought um, a portion of the road, the highway, and we go out and we clean it up to keep the roadway clean. And there's a sign on it that says in honor of Michael Taylor. And so that was an amazing thing. I do Thanksgiving dinner every year, and we do little things to keep the memory going, to make sure that we are honoring those who are no longer with us. But then we also understand that although they're not here with us in the flesh, now we have ancestors who are looking out for us in the other realm, who can see things that we can't see, who can send us signs and signals that we wouldn't be able to receive on this side. And so thinking about it as them being promoted, that is the stance that I had to take. My mom was with me for 40 something years of my life. And so now she's promoted. She's been promoted to the next level. And so now she can help me even more than she could here. And she's no longer having to deal with the things in the earthly realm. The same thing for my sister. My sister had an amazing sense of humor. Everybody loved her. She was the life of the party. And she was the oldest. And so I said, now I don't have to, call Shonda. She's with me all the time. She can send me messages. And, I had to think of it in a different way and just really find meaning in ways to honor them. And so for the person who's dealing with grief, for the person who's dealing with loss, for the person who's feeling like they can't move on, for the person who's feeling like this is way too much and I don't know how I'm going to make it, I just encourage you not to let the trauma of this highly significant person's death be the story of your life. There's more life for you to live. There's more for you to do. And there's more opportunity for you to make an impact. Don't let it stop you. Take the time you need to grieve. It is a process, it's not a one-day situation. And, sometimes we do have to reframe the story. We do have to reframe the story and choose the narratives that we tell ourselves about the loss and our capacity to overcome it. And so sometimes it just means I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and start tomorrow a new day. Sometimes when I got really, really sad, I would just say, I'm going to go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, and start tomorrow in a new way. And so I just want to share that with you all. That's right. Dr. D. Nicole said, amen. To God be the glory. So I just want to share that with you all. I hope this helps somebody because we all deal with loss, and especially for business owners. Like as business owners, and many of us are solopreneurs. And so when we deal with loss, if we don't have things set up appropriately in our business, we're no longer making income. So not only Are we dealing with loss? But now we're losing income in our business and we could possibly lose our livelihood. But also for the people who are still working jobs, who are pursuing a different dream, don't give up that dream. Don't allow the death, the grief, the loss to be the story of your life. Don't allow it. And I love the example that Jennifer Hudson has set, because Jennifer Hudson lost significantly that day in a very horrific way. And to see her today, that doesn't mean that she doesn't suffer and she still doesn't, have her moments like we all do. But to get to see her now on this other side of it, she's right. You cannot let that become the story of your life. Don't y'all know how much therapy people have to pay for to get these good words? I'm just trying to help somebody here because that's what helped me. And when she said it, it totally summed up everything that every fiber of my being had been telling me this, and I just couldn't articulate the words. Thank you, Jennifer Hudson, for articulating the words for that for me. And I hope that it articulates for somebody else. Y'all have a good rest of your night.